How's it going, guys? Today is February 28th, 2012, and today we're going to be checking out Bezizzle and learning how losing can be so much better than winning at certain positions in StarCraft 2. Of course, we are here again. I, of course, wear my Day 9 TV shirt because I feel so special having this shirt finally delivered to my own household. And let's just get right into the game. We're going to be looking directly at Bezizzle's game here. I have not seen the game before, but we are going to take a look exactly from a non-biased perspective as to how you can thus improve yourself as you play this game. This game apparently is quite long, so we're going to speed it up just a little bit to see exactly what he's doing currently right now. Of course, turn the sound back on because that's exactly what is needed when you play StarCraft 2, and we'll look exactly at what he's doing early on in the game. So of course, getting that spawning pool out, getting the extractor. Now, one thing that you should be doing early on in the game is, let me just, do this. Alright, let me speed up. So if none of you really do know, if you're playing as a Zerg player, if you're going to be ever going for a spawning pool before an expansion, what you need to do is go for the extractor before expansion, because extractor before spawning pool thus means you'll be able to have enough gas by the time the spawning pool is produced to, in fact, create metabolic boost for your Zerglings, which is also needed when you are playing as Zerg, because metabolic boosted Zerglings are incredible, and that's how everyone should play Zerg early on in the game, of course, when you're getting that extractor out on the field. So back into the game, of course, getting that extractor a little bit after, but that's totally fine, learning as we go, and of course producing a few Zerglings out on the field. Now, the moment your Zerglings are produced, you do want to send them out on the field as fast as possible. Maybe go check out the Zelmega Towers real quick, and then go check out the ramp of his base. Make sure that you know exactly what is there. Of course, the barracks and the 2 supply depots, as long as the... But I'm pretty sure you got that drone checking things out. And I really do like your Overlord placement here. You're actually able to see exactly what's going on over at that base. Very solid. I love when Zerg actually know that their overlords are more than just meat sacks floating in the air. They are meat sacks floating in the air that grant vision. That is indeed the best thing about them. Of course, the queen out on the field and allowing yourself to get that larva up. Now, one thing I do want you to point out is when you're looking at your replays of Bezizzle, be sure to always look at your queen. Maybe look at an entire replay and just look at your queen the moment it spawns on the field, because then you'll be able to look at its energy. The moment that this larva pops off, you should be putting on more larva. That's very good. You're actually doing that right now. But always make sure that you point this out. It's almost the same as chrono boosting as a Protoss. You want to make sure that you keep that energy as low as possible, closest to that 0. Because the moment those pop off, you want to be able to put that larva back on there, which is awesome. So, getting the expansion out as I drink my delicious Canadian water, which is oh so awesome. But this is when, you also notice that, you maybe have a little bit too many Zerglings out on the field right now. Sure, your opponent may have, a Marine and Marine out on the field. Your opponent generally is not going to be attacking you to the point of where you can't produce enough units to fend him off. What most Zerg players like to do is, if they are worried about their opponent attacking their expansion, is, like you saw in that previous game, build spine crawlers. Just build some spine crawlers, because they can actually move around. They're not static in one position. You can move them around to their necessary position. So maybe make a couple spine crawlers and have a couple Zerglings out on the field, not in your base, with metabolic boost on them, and you'll be able to send them around the field. Make sure your opponent is not moving out on the field before because that's the nice thing about having metabolic boosted Zerglings, because the metabolic boosted Zerglings allow you to see pretty much everywhere in the map, especially if you put them on, like, say, a control group or something, and put them on a patrol moving across the map, and you'll be able to see pretty much everything that your opponent's doing. You'll know exactly when your opponent is going on the attack, especially by putting a Zergling right in front of his base. I mean, that would be the most obvious thing to do. So definitely pay attention to that when you are playing as a Zerg player. It's always good, because Zerg are the #1 scouters of StarCraft 2. They need it, because they're always going to be spawning more units as fast as they possibly need to, once they see that their opponent is moving out on the field. So just having a Zergling right here would be oh so perfect to allow you to know exactly when your opponent is moving out on the field. And then all you have to do really is pay attention to your mini-map and have that Zergling get shot to death, and you'll know exactly just what to do. Because Zerglings in your base are generally not useful unless you're being attacked. And of course getting the spine crawler out should move that spine crawler out down here. I think you did that too. That's nice, very solid. I like to see that. Extractor, second extractor in the layer tech being produced, which is cool. I do like to see a layer out pretty soon, and you're going for the spire. Hey, look at that. Nice spire. Very solid. I do love to see this in the game. We're just going to speed up the game just a little bit because, you know, natural things going to be happening. Obviously going to be making mutalisks at some point in the game. So excuse my encoder pooping on itself while I put it on ×8 speed. This is when your encoder is like, oh my god, what's going on? One of the game plays through here. And of course now the game just took a crap. There we go. Alright, I'm going to slow it down just a little bit. Cool. So ×2 speed should be alright. And you put all your Zerglings into the middle of the map. Alright, cool. But that's alright, because you don't know, you haven't been playing Zerg too long, so, I mean, obviously, some things to point out is that you don't need all these Zerglings on the map. In reality, you literally need about 4 Zerglings on your map until you really do need to build a base. And this is where you see that there's a factory out on the map, since you have a whole bunch of mutalisks, which is awesome. I do love to see mutalisks, but you actually gave away your mutas a little bit too soon. You could have opted to go for maybe a spore crawler just because that pretty much pointed out, that factory that exploded really did point out that your opponent is going for starports. He already has the amount of starports he wants. He doesn't need any more factories. He probably just sent that factory for the sake of scouting your base because he assumes you only have roaches and Zerglings. But giving away your mutalisks generally not the best thing to do, because then you could actually go and attack, you know, his SCVs. But now he has missile turrets up in his base, so he'll be able to see exactly everything that's going on. And of course your opponent's doing the crazy thing known as planetary fortresses, because that's just weird. Interesting. And also this is probably why your opponent made scare-tactic missile turrets. I don't even know why he's putting missile turrets here, to protect this part of the base, to protect this part of the base. Your opponent definitely playing very odd. Definitely playing very oddly. But not exactly, you know, the most strange I've ever seen. Building all those planetary fortresses here. But still, don't need those Zerglings here, because you'll be able to get a whole bunch more drones out as fast as possible. And this is where you gotta pay attention to your queens a little bit more, but that's alright. You'll realize that you'll get used to hotkeying your queens to like 6 and 7. 6 and 7, and then always being like, okay, 7-7, I'm gonna larva that, 7-7V, larva that. Pretty simple to get into. It'll take a lot of games really to get it, ingrained into your brain, to know exactly when you don't need to put any more larvae on your layers anymore. And also, if you feel that you have way too many drones in one base, you can always tell the rally point to go here. Or way over here if you really felt like it, which is definitely very, very cool. And of course the queen in your third base. I do love that you're getting queens out pretty fast, and we do see that there's banelings of course in your main unit composition. And unfortunately your opponent went for planetary fortresses. Now, do you know that these are planetary fortresses? This would be interesting to see. Okay, you do have like a changeling in their base. Oh, you have like 2 changelings in their base. That's pretty cool. Changelings are awesome, which I have now just learned. Anyway, as long as your opponent has no idea that they're there, hey, why not? More power to you. So you do see that the planetary fortresses are in there, and you go in for the kill, and at least you get one of them. But of course, planetary fortresses are just weird. I mean, they are powerful, and they do not want to die ever. To be honest, to deal with a planetary fortress, you just need a lot of air units, and you need a whole bunch of ground units to basically waltz into your base and kill off all the missile turrets. But of course, that's just really weird to see an opponent such as Terran do this. And of course, you want to keep going for those expansions. Three bases at 16 minutes as a Zerg player. You should have at least six bases by the 16-17 minute mark. as a Zerg player in a StarCraft 2 match around the 17-minute mark here when you're playing, because then you'll have all that money and you have all those hatcheries, all those queens and everything like that. Doing some more baneling bursts. Of course, your opponent may actually be able to save that, so okay, looks like he does save it. And of course, just going to try and speed through the game faster and faster. Let's see what exactly lost the game here. Alright, so we do see that you're running out of minerals in your main base. This is about the time when you want to have about, 6 bases in total. And your opponent goes for maybe another planetary fortress as I drink my water at a million times speed. Interesting. And then he just goes for more planetary fortresses. This is like the most interesting thing in here. Okay, so now he goes for Vikings, which could possibly mean that he could try and take out all your overlords as easily as possible, if he felt like it. Of course, Zergling's going to be moving now, attacking his next planetary fortress. Baneling's going in there. Alright, going to be able to take that expansion, hopefully, as soon as possible. And he's going for more command centers. This is probably the weirdest Terran player I have ever seen, but hey, whatever works. Baneling's moving in here, lots of turtling in his main base. I think he's just mainly going to try and turtle as hard as possible. So if you're dealing with a turtling Terran player, that's when you have to realize that you got to go for like 1,000,000 expansions as fast as possible. Like, just keep getting expansions, because your opponent's not going to know exactly what's up about your macro. You may feel that your opponent is impervious to whatever you do. Trust me, if you get like broodlings or anything like that out on the field, corruptors to counter any of his air units, something to kill off his missile turrets here, like even an overlord drop in his main base, you could have easily killed all of these missile turrets with just a couple of Zerglings in general, and not have to even worry about it. Because look how many tanks are in his main base here. That's really not that much. Of course, he's just basically a command center junkie, and he loves making command centers. So, in general, I'd say you just need expansions. Because I think now you're expanding to the point of where you're like, oh well, I'm just gonna grab expansions when I feel that it's necessary. But you'll realize that you are always going to be low on gas as a Zerg player. You need more and more gas. Terran players also realize this too. You always need more gas, but Zerg players find it a lot easier because expanding is very inexpensive. It's only costs like 300 minerals, and you can move into your opponent's base while you're doing it. Of course, these evil little turrets love to do like the minimalist amount of damage, but of course those ravens were sitting in this base for about 6 years, and of course the Imba mule that a lot of people like to post on the forums about. Or drop down quite easily on your opponent's base. So that's definitely cool to point out. Alright. So approaching the 30-minute mark here, or the 32-minute mark here. Now you're just sending banelings in, of course. I think the biggest issue here I could probably point out is that your decisive decision making while you're playing through this game. You realize that your opponent is going mass planetary fortress, and you see that he's going a lot of anti-air. You need to be able to calculate exactly what your opponent's doing, because if you have, you see on your screen there, you have, let me even switch it over here for you. You have 7,300 minerals and about 700 gas. And you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, six hatcheries here. These ones just spawned, so I'll give you the benefit of the doubt there while you go make your queens for that. But that's the point where you want to constantly just keep making something. Because you see that your opponent's massively turtling. Just constantly keep making something. Get up to 200 food as fast as you possibly can. And then, when you have that 200 food, attack. Just attack with it, because you'll be able to get that 200 food back in like the blink of an eye. It's that easy. That's how good it is. That's really how good it is. It's really awesome how Zerg can respawn everything that they need, get that 200 food as fast as possible, and basically just work with it. Because that's the awesome thing about Zerg. They're a macro race. You get a whole bunch of hatcheries. You just keep spawning whenever you can with the resources that you have. When in this case you have a lot of money, so just keep spawning, say, Zerglings, because they don't cost any gas, or spawn just, you know, roaches even. Roaches cost like nothing to make, even though you're in the late game here. Just keep spawning something to keep that money low, because you'll realize how do you keep your money low as Zerg? You send all your units out to the opponent and let them die. That's pretty much how you play. That's how you can play Zerg to a very effective rate, because they are a massive spawning race. Just keep producing more and more units, and of course, your opponent is playing very awkwardly. He does play very strangely, of course. You know, doing all this auto turret junk stuff. In the most weird of ways I've ever seen. Even upgrading his bunkers so he can put 6 units into them, and upgrading the armor, massively producing a whole bunch of missile turrets out on the field. It is just, you know, the most weird thing that your opponent's doing. And of course, you're gonna meet weird people on the field here. And I like how you went for corruptors, but of course, I think you miscalculated that, you know, auto turrets can actually, in this mass amount of auto turrets, they can actually kill you quite easily if you fly over them. And of course, your banelings walking in here. You don't need to worry about auto turrets too much. Even if you do lose your base, you can just respawn one anyway. Or just, I don't know, send a whole bunch of Zerglings in. It's just unfortunate to see, you know, all these random auto turrets here in the field. You don't generally see that out of anyone, because it's, you know, it's not like the most norm thing you could possibly see. And when you see the non-norm thing, you gotta think crazy, you gotta think ridiculous. But in this case, all you need to really do is just keep producing units as fast as you possibly can. And of course, your opponent, being annoying as he can be, going out on your base and just spawning auto turrets. That is just so crazy. That's all right though. You have no idea how to really deal with that. It's actually really weird. I don't think I would have been able to deal with it, to be quite honest with you. It's just weird. But when you're analyzing it, you really do see, like, holy crap, he's just going for Vikings. He's just going for Ravens. Well, obviously, if you look at it now, all you had to do was drop in his base, and that's about it. But I mean, how would you know when you're under so much pressure and you're not, you know, you don't know Zerg to the fullest extent yet? And you see all this crap on the base, like all these auto turrets. This is unheard of. You don't see this many auto turrets out in the field. You don't. It's just, nah, it's not normal. And that's just why you have to be like, okay, this was a weird game. This was an odd game. I didn't know how to deal with it, and this is when you realize that, hey, I just need to understand Zerg a little bit better. That's about it. You just gotta look at Zerg, play more games. Understand what kind of builds you can get. Of course, you run into all his Vikings, but how would you know? Because Vikings were just there anyway. But in the end, it's definitely not that bad, and then you just leave the game. So definitely not bad. To be honest, you played that game to the extent of what you knew. You knew that you could make banelings, so you just kept making banelings. That's good. You went with an idea. You had the ability to make mutalisks, so you went with making mutalisks. So I really do enjoy that. That's actually really solid. I was actually quite impressed that you stayed in the game that long, realizing what your opponent was doing, not knowing that, hey, well, if I don't know really exactly what's going on in his main base, I probably can't really do too much to him. But really all you needed to do there was just, do some decisive thinking, get something in his base to see what he has. You would have seen that there was a lot of missile turrets in his base, and all you had to do was send a couple drops in there, maybe even get a Nidus worm in there, but you probably would have noticed the Nidus worm because there were so many missile turrets in his base. But just get stuff in his base. That's all you had to do, of course. So tomorrow, I'm not quite sure what we're going to be doing tomorrow. It could be Friend Day Wednesday. Could get Tara on the show if she is not busy tomorrow. And if not, we're going to be looking at a high-level game, most likely of Idra playing, because I really want to get some Idra. And that'll be definitely very cool. If you missed anything of this video, they will be on Akabane 101 eVids on YouTube.com, of course. You can go check them all out. And thanks for watching, guys. Have a good one. See ya.